devotional series for Women of Fellowship. And this is entitled Renew. And can't forget the exclamation mark at the end, because we really, I think, intended for this to be a cry for help, for God to do something really incredible and amazing in each one of us during this very unique time in our history as his daughters in his kingdom. We are intending for this time to be an encouragement and yet a challenge to us to not let this time of social distancing / quarantine go to waste and be lost to us. For the next 4 Tuesdays, we will be sending out, email, posting these 4 short 15-minute devotionals that will challenge us to make the most of this opportunity, really, that's been sort of thrust upon us, all for the purpose of asking God to do a work of renewal in each one of us. Rest, restore, refrain, and reconnect are the titles of each one of these devotionals that will be taught by one of our FBC women. And then each following Friday, after the video comes out on Tuesday, we will have a Zoom discussion time, chatting about the teaching, how we're applying it, and then praying for each other. And this will really give us a chance to see each other via this online Zoom meeting. See our website for details and look for our weekly emails. We can't wait to share with you and see you on Zoom. You know, I woke up this morning to fresh rain and just that feeling of something being new. There is grass coming up, thankfully, and buds coming out on the trees. The sun was peeking through just little patches of blue. Now, my allergies don't always like this time of year, but my mind and my heart most certainly do. It's like I need this time every year to just go and breathe. We just finished celebrating the death and resurrection of our Lord. And you know, most years, I take the opportunity to go through a book, something that from February through Easter sort of sets my feet on the path of Christ and walking that to the cross and then through the empty tomb. This year, I got to go through And the Angels Were Silent by Max Lucado. So I want you right now just to sit back, and I'm going to read a portion of this to you. Just invite you to share with me. So now you know I have eyes, and I'm going to put on my glasses so that I can actually see. So Max writes, funny how taxes and Easter often fall on the same week. They did this year. 1 hour is reverent, the next routine. One reminds me of how God paid it all, and the next reminds me of how much I have to pay. I was 2 days into the week before it hit me. Really, what an appropriate time and setting in which to study God's sacrifice. For if the cross doesn't make sense on a common week full of common tasks, well, when does it make sense? That is the beauty of the cross. It occurred in a normal week involving flesh and blood people and flesh and blood Jesus. Of all the weeks that Jesus displayed his powers, his final week would certainly be the one. A few thousand loaves, a few dozen healings would do wonders for his image. Better still, a A few Pharisees struck dumb. That would make life simpler. Don't just clean the temple, Jesus. Pick it up and move it to Jericho. When the religious leaders mutter, then make it rain frogs. And as you are describing the end times, split the sky and show everyone what you mean. This is the week for razzle dazzle. This is the hour for the incredible. You can silence them all, Jesus. But he doesn't. Not in Jerusalem, not in the upper room, not on the cross. This week, in many respects, is run-of-the-mill. The two miracles that Jesus does perform aren't intended to draw a crowd. The withered fig tree certainly made a point, but turned few heads. The healed ear in the garden, it did a favor, but it won no friends. Jesus wasn't displaying his power. It was an ordinary week packed with kids being dressed by impatient moms and dads hustling off to work, a week of dishes being washed and floors being swept. Nature gave no clue that the week was different than any of the thousands before it or after it. The sun took its habitual route, and the clouds puffed through the Judean sky. The grass was green and the cattails danced in the wind. And the people gave no clue either. For most, it was a week of anticipation. A weekend of festivities was arriving, food to be bought, houses to be cleaned, and their faces gave no forecast of the extraordinary, for they knew of none. One would think that the disciples would suspect something, but they don't. Corner them and probe their knowledge. They don't know. The only thing that they know for sure is that his eyes seem more focused. He seems determined. About what? Not sure. Tell them that before Friday's dawn that they will abandon their only hope. They wouldn't believe you. Tell them that Thursday night holds betrayal and denial. They would laugh. Not us, they boast. From them, this week is like any other. The disciples give no clue, and most importantly, Jesus gives no clue. His water doesn't become wine, his donkey doesn't speak, the dead stay in the graves, and those blind on Monday are still blind on Friday. You'd think the heavens would be open. You'd think trumpets would be sounding, and you'd think angels would be summoning all the people of the world to Jerusalem to witness this event. You'd think that God himself would descend to bless his son. But he doesn't. He leaves the extraordinary moment draped in the ordinary. A predictable week. A week of tasks, meals, and crying babies. A week that may be a lot like yours. Maybe nothing spectacular happened this week. No great news, no horrible news, no earthquakes, no windfalls. Just a typical week of chores and children and checkout stands. It was for the people of Jerusalem. On the edge of history's most remarkable hour was one of history's most unremarkable weeks. God is in their city, and most missed it. Jesus could have used the spectacular to get their attention, and why didn't he? Why didn't he stun them with a loop-de-loop and a double backflip off the top of the temple? When they demanded, "Crucify him," why didn't he make their noses grow? Why is the miraculous part of Christ week quiet? Why doesn't he do something spectacular? No angelic shield protected his back from the whip. No holy helmet shielded his brow from the thorny crown. God crawled neck deep into the mire of humanity, plunged into the darkest cave of death, and emerged alive. And when he came out, he didn't show off, he just walked out. Mary thought he was a gardener, and Thomas needed hands-on proof. Jesus still ate, he still talked, he still broke bread with the Emmaus-bound disciples. Do you see the point? God calls us in a real world. He doesn't communicate by performing tricks. He doesn't communicate by stacking stars in the heavens or reincarnating grandparents from the grave. He's not going to speak to you through voices in a cornfield or a fat little man in a land called Oz. There is about as much power in the plastic Jesus that's on the dashboard as there is in the styrofoam dice on the rearview mirror. It doesn't make a lick of difference if you're Aquarius or Capricorn, or if you're born on the day Kennedy was shot. God's not a trickster, and he's not a genie, and he's not a magician or a good luck charm or the man upstairs. He is, instead, the creator of the universe, who is right here in the thick of our day-to-day world, who speaks to you more through cooing babies and hungry bellies than he ever will through horoscopes, zodiac papers, or weeping Madonnas. If you get some supernatural vision or hear some strange voice in the night, don't get too carried away. Could be God, or it might be indigestion, and you wouldn't want to confuse one for the other. Nor do you want to miss the impossible by looking for the incredible. God speaks in our world. We just have to learn to hear him. Listen for him amid the ordinary. Do you need affirmation of his care? Well, let the daily sunrise proclaim his loyalty. Could you use an example of his power? Spend an evening reading about how our body works. Wondering if his word is reliable? Make a list of the fulfilled prophecies in the Bible and promises he's made in your life. In the final week, those who demanded miracles got none. And they missed the one. They missed the moment in which a grave for the dead became a throne for the king. Don't make their mistake. Ladies, let's not miss what God has for us during this unique season of change. Ask God to renew you, so you can emerge from this time rested in your soul, restored, refraining from things that can distract you, and reconnected in ways that all of us could have only imagined a few months ago. We look forward to taking this little journey of renewal with you. We'll see you next Tuesday. Have a great day.